Hey everyone, how's it going? Sports Talks podcast back, solo cast, just flexing a little bit off the back of a call I did with my guys on Legacy coaching group. And with that, if you head to the show notes, head to the links wherever they are, you can get the first module for the Sports Speed certification for free. Go and access it. I want to get it out there. I want to get you access to it. So this is the best way. Off the back of it, you get the first module, and then everything else is taken care of from there. Sign up, then you get your hour coaching call, free event, and everything like that with yours truly, in the interest of speed. So what I want to talk to you guys about today, and if you're in the podcast listening up, you can flip this on Spotify, watch the video, get over to YouTube because I'm about to blow up some diagrams. So we were talking about understanding how do we create physical stress and load with respect to maximum velocity sprinting using the learn load execute model. We have areas of stress that we're trying to accumulate, and different elements and the ways in which that we want to be able to nurture and facilitate our athletic development with our athletes. So with that, I just want to show you a couple of images and talk through a couple of things. So first of all, understanding the phases of sprinting. Oh, that's not very nice. So here we run our velocity chart. So we have our start and our early acceleration. We then have our transition, we have our maximum velocity, and we have our speed. Speed reserve, speed maintenance, whatever you want to call it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, in 100-meter sprinting model, what you will have is, this typically is 60 meters, maybe 70. Usain Bolt get it in 80, and then the rest of the 100-meter sprint is there. Okay, it's managing the ability to slow down the slowest, who usually wins the race. But team sport sprinting, very, very different. Okay, very, very different. So we clear all those out, and let's take this. Let's have our given distance. Most team sport activity occurs right inside, if we're going to play the percentages, 30 meters, for example, 30 meters. Okay, and usually if we have a sprint starting from a given velocity of 0, it's just easier to understand. But sometimes these are rolling, and you're looking at anywhere between under 10% of maximum velocity to find early acceleration, as opposed to sprint float sprint variations, or sprint coast sprint variations. Easy for me to say. So from here, we can break this down again. And what I like to do is break it down into steps. So 0 to 3, 4, steps 4 to 7, and then 7 to about, if we call it 20-ish, right? You're at 30 meters. Now this is where we break up our zones. The reason why 7 steps is 10 meters for most people. So here, this is like the meeting point where you either change direction if you've not done before, you either tackle someone if you've not done before, or you either get hit if you've not been hit before. Other than that, you are home free on an open tear. Okay, so then we have to condense our zones. So zone 1, steps 1 to 3 is going to be our early acceleration. So everything's going to be horizontally biased from our displacement point of view. Okay, then 3 to 7, those next 4 steps are going to be our transition, where everything's going to be a little bit up and a little bit forward. Then all of our force after that is up and down. So our force pairings, we talk extensively about this in the physiology of sprinting in the certification. Our force pairings there obviously replicate the opposite, and our technical model represents that as well. So when you understand this picture, you can start to see, well, shit, how am I going to start creating loading, physical stress loading inside my sprint coaching program? Well, here we have it. Because when you look at what happens at a given sprint of an athlete, most athletes, this is what I'm talking about. Remember, we have 4 tiers of sprint qualification. We're here massively in that learn to sprint. And do yourself a good humbling and recognizing where your athletes are there. Don't say to yourself, I'm not learning to sprint. I'm not. My athletes don't learn to sprint. They're not learning to sprint. Well, if they're a team sport athlete and they have not done speed consistently for the last 5 years, they're still learning to sprint. And if they can't get themselves out of the most crucial stage of sprinting, then they're still learning to sprint. Everything's a learn, and everyone goes back to a learn every time they PB. Remember that. So when we're looking at the problems that occur, like we want people inside 30 meters, to be able to hit 95+% of their max velocity. Some people will tap out here, but the problem is that we find is we lose the relationship in this transitional zone. So the area, so it's all about the area under the curve. So in this area that we have here, there's lots of things going on. Now I'm going through this very, very quickly for you because I want to make sure that you understand here. So in terms of our displacement, we need to increase the distance between the center of mass and the ground, and we need to keep increasing it. The reason why, so we can find an effective leg cycle, so we can get that front side curve coming through, which is going to allow us to move forward. So we want to get out of the backside piston action and into the front side sweep, essentially. But in this phase, this is where it breaks down for your athletes. So we can't actually get effective ground reaction force in that in those later phases because they've not built their curve towards it. So again, this straight line, relative ground reaction force per step change. Okay, it's a very simple relationship. We know that at rest there's only ground reaction force of net mass, where at 100% of max velocity it's going to be ground reaction force of net mass plus or multiplied by force at percentage of max, whatever you want to call that number. Relative, there's reported 10, 12, 14, 15, 16 times body weight. Okay, but team sport sprinting, remember this is 30 meters. Okay, we have to get there in 30 meters. Remember, we're going from 0, let's play the numbers, 10 times body weight per step, from 0 inside 20 steps. Different ball game. And obviously that rate of ground reaction force change per step is huge, okay, over those first 7 or so steps. Right? I'm doing that for argument's sake. So what will then happen from a technical point of view is the athlete will lose the ability to tolerate and express and understand that force. They'll lose it. And when they lose it, then the technical model will break. And where conventional thinking is like it's a technical issue, it's not a technical issue, it's a force issue. And it's not necessarily a force issue that's the issue, it's the rate of which the force is applied is an issue. Okay, hopefully you understood that. And so when we're in this position, we have a real good tool that we can use. Okay, and negotiating and pushing ourselves out of transition, so from steps 4 to 15, call it argument's sake, for a given 30-meter sprint. Okay, the goal is to get out of transition. And how do we get out of transition? We minimize the amount of horizontal and turn it into vertical. That's all we do. We have to get out, because if we don't get out, we never will get out. All right, and then that's where lots of injuries and things occur. So we know that that area under the curve exists. Okay, so then we blow things up, we blow things out, and we just introduce and the way that you can use dribble bleeds. Okay, there's 2 different things that I like to use, the dribble bleeds, and we break up a 30-meter zone into 3 zones. We've got our 0 to 5, then we've got our 25 to 30. The rest in the middle is our shin blade. And inside that shin blade, what we're trying to do is through there's a couple of sections with inside it, but the goal is just to push up and push out. All right, with that dribble bleed, we want to increase, because remember, leg frequency needs to increase. So we need to increase leg frequency within that shin dribble, change the relationship between the center of mass and the ground. So increase vertical displacement, increase frequency, and decrease impulse. Well, increase impulse, decrease time on the ground, but increase force applied. Therefore, net result is increased speed. that is the area in which you need to focus on and blow out. Because if you want to load maximum velocity and use sprinting to actually load sprinting, then you need to earn the right to get there first. And that's one way that you can do it, by using dribble bleeds, shin dribbles effectively in your coaching practice, and go from there. So if you want to learn more about this stuff, you know where I am. And if you want to, again, get access to the certification, then please head over to the link. First module's free. We talk about a few of the frameworks, or the 7 frameworks in there. You got the podcast, you got the Instagram, you got everything. If you want to chat with me, book a call. There's a link. I'm happy to talk to anyone about anything, coaching, whatever you want to do. But this is from me, presenting it to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and I will speak to you very, very soon.